As I think about it, I don't recall too many people giving reflections on the Visitation. Maybe that's just me, I haven't uncovered them, but I've spent a lot of time thinking about it as I pray my own rosaries. And I think one of the mysteries that we ponder in the mystery of the Visitation is something connected to Mary's yes at the Annunciation. Because while we know that Mary's response to the angel is unique, there is in a literary way, there is a parallelism between Mary and Zechariah, because like his not responding to the angel is compared to or sort of parallel to Mary's actual yes. And what we see from Mary when the angel speaks to her, she says, "How can this be?" Well, she's pondering what it is that God is doing. Because Mary is the greatest creature that ever was, but she still has to ponder God's will. She's not an angel, and she's not God. And so when God acts, she has to ponder it. And this is the angel Gabriel's kind of also, for his part, working to help her to understand. And part of it is, right, behold, Mary, nothing is impossible for God, and see, your cousin Elizabeth is with child. And so I think there's a twofold thing going on when Mary goes to visit Elizabeth. One is charity for her cousin. And I think second, it is to see the evidence that God has shown her. Not that she does not believe, but it's also to see the thing that God has prophesied. And so there's a mystery in this reflection. I think I have even more to reflect about that, but I hope that gives everyone a little deeper appreciation. Maybe you can ponder that more yourselves as you pray the Holy Rosary. I find many times I come back to the Magnificat, or maybe God brings me back to it. In fact, I'm beginning to think the latter, that God has more purpose for me in my priesthood in reflection of the Magnificat. But I think there's so much there. And one thing that I more and more realize, in a way, the Magnificat has the gospel, the whole gospel, in like a few segments, because we see sort of the action of God and the whole history of Israel, and we see Israel's response and God's promise, and then finally sort of the ultimate response of Israel and humanity in Mary, right? Mary is what we are meant to be. And through the Magnificat, like, we have all of these themes in seed form. I mean, it's so, you could spend your entire life just pondering one or two phrases from the Magnificat, and it wouldn't be wasted. I mean, in these troubling times, for example, in the Magnificat, we hear that God will cast down the mighty from their thrones and lift up the lowly. So often we think the devil and his minions are going to win because the devil looks powerful and in charge. But in the Magnificat, we hear, no, that's not going to happen. God is going to cast down the mighty from their thrones, and he's going to lift up the lowly. And if we look at the history of Israel, if we look at the lives of the saints, we see this sort of logic of the gospel reflected on by Mary in the Magnificat happening. So I think marvelous little concentrated segment of scripture that we would do well to ponder.